Welcome to the That's Life podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of life and everything in between. Here's your host, Shane Makita.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode. I'm here. I hope you're here with me. I'm just going through life, going through everything you got to go through when you're trying to be able to be the best version of yourself to keep things moving forward. It's been a little bit of a minute, as I always say in a lot of these podcasts, because I haven't necessarily been focusing on me. I haven't been focusing on the health aspect of the things that I need to do and the places I need to go and the things that I need to see and achieve and accomplish and all those things. So I'm checking in with you guys because I want to make sure that I'm holding myself accountable. One of the things I just recently did was I posted online on No Finish Line Nation, which is the Facebook page that I'm a part of, that a lot of people that are going through health journeys, ups and downs and everything else go on there to support each other, to lift each other up and do it, whatever they can to be able to move things forward. And I posted on there and I said basically that I need to get back on the track, right? I need to get back on track with my weight, with my mental health, with my mindset, with everything that's going on in the world. And like we always talk about, we're not going to talk about politics on this podcast, but everything that's going on in the world, the upside down world that we're living in, it makes it difficult to be able to continue to move forward in a space where you just want to be effective and you want to be efficient and be successful and those kind of things. So this podcast is one of the ways that I'm successful to myself. I'm accountable to me. When I come on here and I have a conversation with all of you and myself, and we sit down and we just chat. We chat about things that matter, things that we go through each and every day. So the reason that I posted that on the social medias is because I want to share something with you real quick. Okay, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to peel myself back a little bit, and I'm going to go and just tell you a little bit of a story. So I went to, so I had a doctor's appointment that I was supposed to do a follow-up appointment because he had put me on some medication. It wasn't the injectable medication, but it's pill form, and basically wanted to see if this was something that we could do as an alternative to the injections for some of the weight loss, because my insurance won't cover it. And that means that I'll be paying about $1,000 or $1,500 every single time that you want to be able to do one of those. And so I couldn't afford it. And that was just the end all be all, which, by the way, let's just be honest here. Let's just be completely honest. The only way that my insurance covers the GLP-1s or the injectables is if I'm a diabetic. Now, not pre-diabetic, but a diabetic. I have to have full-blown diabetes for them to be able to say, yes, we're going to cover the medication cost on that for you. And I went through all the different medications, and all of them were the same with my insurance carrier. And I pay a good amount of money for that insurance, to be honest with you. But what that really does make me realize, and this is a side note that I wanted to put out there, is that the industry wants us to be sick. It's a known fact. They want us to be sick because we spend money. And if we're spending money, then they profit, which we've seen all the CEOs and all the different people that run all of these insurance companies and everything else that make lots of money and loads of money, et cetera, and all those things, right? So we know that that's part of it. But at the end of the day, I have to have full-blown diabetes for me to be able to get a thing that's going to help me lose weight to be healthier long-term. I guess they don't want that, do they? I guess they don't. Anyway, so my physical was around probably 8 months ago, and we saw that I was overweight. Of course, this is what I normally find, but also my blood pressure was a little high. It was elevated, right? So I think it was like a 135 over like 88 or 89. And he said, all right, well, it might be just white coat syndrome or whatever else, but we'll keep on testing it. You've got a cuff at home, check it out and whatever else. I said, okay, great. And so I started taking the medications, and I started to really work on myself and do the things that I have to do. And what happened is that I started to get discouraged with myself. I had a lot of stuff going on. I lost my job. The world is falling apart. All these other things that we got going on, that I just fell into this sense of depression or sadness or anger and those kind of things. And so I stopped taking care of myself. And I didn't use the cuff the way that I needed to check my blood pressure to make sure I was good to go or anything like that. So my next appointment was coming up. It was supposed to be 6 months later, and he was supposed to be like, okay, we're going to take a look at it. We're going to adjust. We're going to pivot, those kind of things. But I was ashamed, and I was embarrassed because I hadn't really lost much weight. I'm still struggling. I still have the burden of an income in our household, that my wife is the working person now, and I'm just trying to be able to find gigs and find things to be able to make things happen. So it's difficult, right? It's difficult, but I postponed it. At 6 month mark, I said to my doc, listen, let's push it off for another month. I can't make it to this one. I made some excuse. So another month went by. Next appointment was coming up, and they called up to say, confirm the appointment with me. And I said, no, I can't do that. I need to postpone it again. So finally, after I started to feel kind of not that great, I started to feel a little bit, breaking out in sweats. I'm 52 or 50, I don't even know, 51 years old. And I'll be 52 this year. And legitimately, there are times when I just feel like I'm 90, and there's times when I feel like I'm 20. There's this whole pendulum swing thing that goes on. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that. So I finally said, you know what, let me go ahead and do it. I'm going to go see my doc, and we're going to go have a conversation. We're going to sit down. I'm going to pay the penance. I'm going to pay the piper. I'm going to do everything I got to do, because even though I'm embarrassed, I know that my long-term health is not, I got to stop being selfish just for myself to be not embarrassed, but rather be giving to my family, who wants me to be around for a long period of time, that I can be here for my son and my wife and my parents and everything else, right? So at the end of the day, I went and I sat down with him, and I opened it right up with him. He sat down, and I said, listen, doc, I know that I gained a little bit of weight here, and my blood pressure I know is not good, and it ended up being right about the same that it was before. I think it was like a 138 over like 89 or something like that. And so he said, yeah, that it is concerning on that one. He says, we had a couple options of what we wanted to do for blood pressure, and this is what we're going to do. And so I decided I would go on the low dose of a blood pressure medication. Now, I'm not a medicine guy. I'm not a huge person that likes to be able to take medicine, but all of a sudden I found myself going, oh, wait a minute, I'm on a bunch of medicines now. So I've got my levothyroxine for my thyroid issues that I had radioactive iodine done back in the day. I've got my weight loss medication, which is like almost Wellbutrin and naltrexone together. And then this new medication for the heart blood pressure medication. So, but I needed to do something. And basically, he just sat there, and he's such an understanding doctor. I'm going to be honest with you, even though he gives it straight, but he's also very much like, listen, he goes, first of all, your weight isn't as high as what it once was. You came in here, a couple years ago, and you were extremely high, and you lost some weight, and you gained a little bit of it back. So first of all, if there's a positive lining to that, you're less than what you were, right? He says, but we got to work on it. We got to work on your eating. We got to work on your diet. You got to work on your habits. You got to incorporate some exercise. All things that I know, right? All things that I know. But when the doc tells you, you're like, okay, these are things that I have to really incorporate in my life, because if I want to be around for a while, the doc sees this all the time. He sees patients. He has experience in all of this, so he knows. He sees it. And so I have to trust my doctor rather than have the egotistical embarrassment of everything and shut down like men usually do when they don't want to face their demons and they don't want to face anything that's going on, because they shut down, they become quiet. There's a reason why men outnumber women in suicide rates almost 2-1, because they harbor all these animosities, all these feelings, all this embarrassment, everything else that they do, and they won't talk to anybody about it because they feel they're less than if they do. So from a man's perspective, absolutely. But as you all know on this podcast, for years and years and years, I've been talking to people left and right to say, listen, you need to go see the doctor. If I have any advice, go see the doctor, go to your therapist, get the help you need. And here I was being the absolute opposite of what I talked to everybody else about, and I didn't want to go to the doctor over and over. I kept on postponing it because of embarrassment. But then when I finally went, we have a game plan now. I finally went, we sat down, we talked about it. He's got me on a low-dose medicine. He may move it up. I'm going in for another follow-up in about a month or so to be able to see where I'm at, how my kidneys are reacting, and if my blood pressure comes down. So I got a plan. The other part of that plan is to make sure that I lose some weight. I got to take some lbs off, right? I got to make sure that I'm shaving some of that stuff off, because part of my blood pressure and part of me feeling like dog crap a lot of times is because of the extra weight that I have. And so I need to incorporate something. So the first thing that I did was, and this was his idea, we sat down and talked about it. I told him about Weight Watchers back in the day, and I told him about all these other things. And I tried Weight Watchers again, and it didn't really necessarily work the way that I wanted it to, or I fell victim to, snacks and whatever else that was going on. And so he basically sat down and he said, have you ever tried intermittent fasting? I said, yeah, I have. It's worked for me pretty well, but, I just don't stick with it. He goes, the only reason I would recommend something like intermittent fasting is because you're a goals-oriented guy. You're a guy that if you have something laid out in front of you and you have something you need, your target you're trying to approach or reach, and something you're trying to be able to do, once you have it in front of you, you fight like hell to get there and do it. He said, so if you're given a plan that says at 6 o'clock at night, you're going to stop eating until 10 o'clock the next morning or 8 o'clock the next morning or whatever, how many hours you want to do for your fasting, this gives you a game plan. It's almost like the coach telling you the play to get out there on the field to do and execute for your team and everything else. It's the same exact thing. I now have a game plan with intermittent fasting that gives me the opportunity to not eat those snacks at nighttime. So I'm already a few days in, and I feel really great. I will tell you some of the added benefits for intermittent fasting for me is the fact that I have the ability to be able to think clearer. I feel like I'm a little sharper. I feel like I'm a little bit, less foggy, and I feel like I'm accomplished whenever I wake up in the morning and I go, hey, you know what? I've been fasting since 6 o'clock. I didn't snack last night. I didn't gouge on snacks or whatever else. I ate a good meal right before I started my fasting, and here I am now until my fasting is over. And so a sense of accomplishment is really important to me. And so we talk about it all the time on this podcast and any of the Coffee Talks or That's Life podcasts or whatever. We always talk about giving yourself small goals to be able to achieve so that you can feel like you accomplish something as you move forward. And this is a really important piece. I want to make sure that I feel like I'm actually doing something that matters. I want to feel like I'm doing something that at the end of the day, I can accomplish it. I can check off the box. And it's just like the coach giving me the play. And I go into play and I'm doing it for my team. My team would be myself, my wife, my son, community, everything else, right? You guys, everything. And so at the end of the day, I have to give myself, I got to give myself grace whenever I make a mistake or I fall, because I cannot go into it with an all-in mentality. I cannot. I won't. I refuse to. Every time that I go into something with an all-in mentality, I end up failing miserably, absolutely crushingly miserably, because I'm all in, and then the first time that I fall or I take a break or whatever, it's like it unravels on me. And the other thing is I have to make sure moderation is the biggest key for me, right? If I take things out, if I deprive myself and have deprivation, and I remove things that I can't have or whatever, those kind of things, my brain automatically starts to kick into saying, I really want that. Why can't I have that? I want that, right? And that's all I think about. Like, again, the kid that looks at the cookie jar on top of the refrigerator and wants to get to the cookie jar but doesn't want to open it, but will do anything in his power now because he's like, oh, wait a minute, there's a cookie jar up there. There's actually cookies in there. Even if there wasn't cookies in there, I would think so. And so I run up there. I'm fighting like crazy. This little kid will do everything in his power to get to that cookie jar. It's the same exact thing, because you have told the kid that he can't have it and that there may be something in there, but you're not allowed to have that. The kid wants it more than ever. It's human nature. And so for me, if I deprive myself of something, I know that I'm missing out on something. And internally, my brain works in a way that I don't like that space. I don't like the space of being told, no, you can't have something, rather than move it forward. So when I talk about moderation, I'm not talking about gouging myself with 15 Snickers bars and 7 slices of pizza for my dinner in the evening. I'm saying have something you enjoy. Do something that you want to do to be able to eat in moderation, that you can either track those or take a look at how it's going to do, or it's going to add to your diet with proteins or fiber or carbohydrates, because there's a lot of foods that are quite tasty that if you incorporate it, it won't feel like you're dieting, right? It won't feel like that D word that you're looking around going, I'm dieting, I'm lacking calories. I need to eat celery all day to be able to do anything. No, that's not the case. But if I do it in moderation, I know I can incorporate good tasting food that's filling, that's healthy for me, and will help me in the process of losing weight. Now, the good news is I'm 4 days in from what I'm doing. And I know in the beginning stages of you trying to be able to lose weight or if you're doing different things. So the good sign is because my body hasn't even moved. I'm 51 years old, turning 52, and it's like a snail's pace. I can't do anything like I used to be able to. I used to be able to just, if I wanted to just, whether it's a diet or whether it's tracking or whatever, I was able to shave weight off like crazy. I was like, great, this is awesome. Of course, then I'd put it back on, but that's what I was doing. I was like, this is awesome. I can shave this weight off. I can do everything I need to do. Not anymore, because aging happens. Hey, guys, one of the things that I get from a lot of individuals that listen to the show, that watch the show, that follow me on social media is, how can I help the podcast? Well, here's one of the ways that you can. I have a Patreon page. Now, you may not be familiar with what a Patreon page is, but what you can do is you could sign up to become a patron of the show. You could donate monthly to the show. Now, after a few months of donating monthly to the show, there's different tiers to be able to donate to. But you'll get some tchotchkes back. You'll get some merchandise back. You'll get something for actually donating to the show. But in the meantime, it helps to alleviate some of the cost that comes into running a podcast or doing different stuff. So if you're looking to support, I'm going to place the link of the Patreon page right into the bio. And I'll also tell you what it is. It's www.patreon.com/that's_life. And this way, you can support the podcast. You can give back. We can do all kinds of different stuff, and we can grow together. So I appreciate all the support you've given me in the past and in the future and right now. So thank you so much. And back to the show. As we get older, our metabolism does slow down. No matter what anybody tries to say in the contrary, our metabolism's slow. And so as we age, we have to do things differently. We have to treat things differently. We have to eat things differently. We have to act a little differently. We have to exercise a little differently, right? Because a lot of times as we age, our body starts to break down. It starts to get brittle. It starts to get older. And so if you're not doing any muscle exercises, you're not doing stretches, those kind of things, as you do age in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, your body really starts to break down because you haven't necessarily taken care of it and given yourself the ability to be able to muscle tone and those kind of things to keep your body moving. So I know all that. And I know I need to incorporate some of that. But again, my point is that at 51, I can't lose like I used to. So the plan that my doc and I sat down and talked about was, how can I do things a little bit differently now than I did when I was in my 30s or 40s that worked for me then, that may not work for me now. So this is one of the reasons why we're trying intermittent fasting. And we're also trying this other thing that I just wanted to kind of let you guys know. My wife made something for me the other day. It's called the Tiffany plate. And if you guys know what a Tiffany lamp is, Tiffany lamps are the ones that have all the colors and they're all like the see-through glass and they're the shape of like an octagon. And they usually go over a table or they're in restaurants and those kind of things, right? And that's what a Tiffany lamp looks like. So the colors are beautiful. It's shaped out that everything is like segmented into certain portions or whatever. So my wife said, I'm going to make you a Tiffany plate. And I'm going, oh boy, here we go. My wife's a vegan. She's going to give me a bunch of vegetables and do whatever. She said, well, let's just try it out and let's see how it goes. So what she did was she put a bowl in the middle and she filled it with cottage cheese. Good protein source, all that stuff, right? Cottage cheese. She put a little bit of the everything bagel seasoning on there, or everything, on top of it, just to give it a little bit of seasoning. Then she put some green peppers and red peppers. Then she put some cucumbers. She put some chicken breast that we had cooked up, or actually from a rotisserie chicken that we had in the fridge. She shredded it up a little bit and put some rotisserie chicken on there. She put some cut up strawberries. She put some oranges and a couple other little items here and there. And then what you do is you dip it all into the cottage cheese and you eat it, right? You just kind of like have this smorgasbord of little things that you have going on. But the concept of the Tiffany is it's super colorful And there's portions for each one of those items. So that way when you're eating it, you feel full when you're done because you're getting your proteins with your chicken and the cottage cheese and those kind of things. And you're getting some good fiber content and all the things that you need in life to be able to continue moving forward and to be healthy, right? So I loved it. I thought it was a really great idea. So if you have not checked it out, do that. Check out the Tiffany plan or the Tiffany plates that's there. And yeah, and so on and so on. So the good news is I'm 4 days into it and I'm down a total of about 7 pounds, which is astronomical, right? And I know a lot of that's water weight, and I know a lot of that's just because I'm getting focused again. And I usually do that. I get a big bump in the beginning and then it levels out. And that's when usually the frustrations kick in because it's not going as fast as what you would like it to. But I have no other alternative now. Okay? I used to be able to just wing it and just say, you know what? I'm going to do it and I'll see how it goes. And, you know, I'm going to do it and keep my mind on it. And then if I lose a little bit, great. That's awesome. But then I would cheat and whatever else, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I have to change this into a mindset of a full-blown mentality. I have to change my mindset fully to be able to be successful at this. And what I have to do now is I have to understand that there is no going back. There's no turning back. There's no anything. I'm 51 years old. I'm going to be coming up on the latter years of my life, and I need to make sure that I'm here and I'm healthy for the rest of that time. I have to stop dicking around, and I have to do things to be able to make sure that I'm good to go. I have to do things so that I can make sure that I can go for walks without getting winded, or go up the stairs without getting winded, or anything like that. Or even the intimacy between my wife and I want to make sure that I'm good to go. And when you're overweight and you're getting older, that kind of dissipates, right? So you want to make sure that you're giving yourself all ample opportunities to do the things that are necessary for you to be successful. And again, there's no turning back. I can't just kind of do it, right? Because then I'm going to kind of live my life in a good way, right? And I'm going to die young if I continue going down the path that I'm going down. High blood pressure, overweight, my body's going to start to fail, all these other things that are going on. So I need to get on board with doing something now. But again, I'm going to do it through moderation. I'm going to do it through victories throughout the day, intermittent fasting, so that way I'm not snacking on junk and garbage at nighttime where I would just because of boredom or because of stress or whatever else, I would just start gouging on snacks and treats and sweets and everything else you can think of. And so I wasn't setting myself up for success. And the other thing that we're doing now is that my wife is also fully in, right? So having a cheerleader, a coach, and whatever else in the house to help me all along, it means the world to me, because I come back and I tell her what my doctor said, and she says, "All right, we're in. Let's do this. Let's do this." Even though I feel like she wanted to tell me that a while ago, but she also knows when somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, you should probably lose some weight," or "Hey, I should change this out," or "I should do this, that, and the other." It's not an easy conversation, and it usually comes back with arguments left and right about whatever reasons you justify why you are the way you are or what you're doing, those kind of things. She didn't want to incorporate any of that, but she knows, and now that the doctor said it, it gives her permission to say, "Let me help. I want to help you." So if you could find an accountability buddy, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your family member, whether it's a friend, whether it's somebody that's also going through a weight loss journey, whether it's anybody through No Finish Line Nation, whether it's anybody through social media, whatever it is, and you could find somebody that's going to be there for you to lift you up and encourage you and hold you accountable and help you along the way, that is going to make your journey that much more beneficial and fruitful, right? It's like giving yourself answers to the test when you're trying to be able to move things forward. And if you refuse to have the answers for the test because you don't want to receive the help or anything like that, it's just going to be harder to get there. And you're not going to probably pass the test, right? So if you have an accountability buddy that you can lean in on, somebody that you can rely on. Now, I'm not talking about somebody that maybe is that negative influence in your life and their level of accountability is to berate you or come at you or have rude conversations or those kind of things because they think it's all out of love, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody that calls you to check in on you. I'm talking about somebody that cares about your mental health and your motivations and the loves of your life and the things that you want to accomplish and those kind of things. And they're not the type that's going to say, "Well, you've tried this before and you failed," or "You did this before and you failed." Accountability is not berating. Accountability is, "Hey, let's do this together. Hey, how you doing today? How's everything going? And then if you say, oh, you know what, I kind of dropped the ball today, I did whatever, they're not going, oh, what are you doing? What's going on? They'll give you words of encouragement like, hey, man, listen, let's brush it off. Let's start back up, and let's do what we got to do. Let's start back up. Let's put one foot in front of the other and make it happen. At the end of the day, we have to look at ourselves in the mirror and understand that if we are not giving ourselves the tools to be successful, we're not going to be successful. And that's one of the things that I'm learning right now. I have to outfit myself with proper tools and correct procedures for me to be successful. It's almost like a checkbox, right? I'm going down the checkbox. I'm kind of checking things off the box to be able to do what I have to do, but I need a plan. I have to have something that I have to follow. I can't just wing it. I've learned that in my life. And I'm vulnerable enough and honest enough to be able to talk about the fact that winging it is not good for me. Because winging it accepts all the noise that comes around, and I respond and react accordingly to the noise if I'm winging it, because I don't feel like I'm in control. But if I've got a plan, and there's a plan B and a plan C, kind of some outs in case something happens, then great. But if I've got a plan, I know I can check off the boxes and I can feel accomplished and I can keep moving things forward. I think that's one of the reasons why my doctor said to me, you need to do what works for you. And I will tell you, I think that the way you are, and I know you now for years, you are a guy that needs that motivation and accountability. So if you do intermittent fasting, it's going to be something that's going to help you, not only with your brain, it's going to help you with your sugar counts, it's going to help you with everything across the board, right? And so he said, when I know you and you need those goals, this is a great way to have a goal, because the first thing you're going to focus on is the time you stop eating and the time you start eating. Those are goals. And so in between, when you get that urge to do something, you grab a glass of water and you say, I feel accomplished. I actually didn't go for that ho-ho or ring ding or whatever. I didn't go for that bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch or anything like that. You know what I mean? So if you give yourself those goals and the checkoff boxes, it will help you. My doc knew that, and I feel like he tapped into something with this, and I like that. So the beginning phases of the intermittent fasting is going pretty well. My journey right now is the fact that I feel accomplished because the first 4 days that I've been doing it, I have been successful. I've done it for the full. I've actually gone over on my time because I started off as a 14-hour fast. I know that they say the usually optimal time frame is a 16-hour fast, so like 6 p.m. until like 10 the next morning. But I started off with a 14, and I might increase it. You know, it was depending on how I was feeling. Here's the thing I was really concerned with when I first started thinking about doing this. Was I get lightheaded, right? I get lightheaded during the day if I get low sugar or something like that, or if I'm, out and about and I'm doing stuff and I'm just like, oh, I need something to eat. And once I eat something, I'm fine. I'm good to go. Well, what's interesting about that is I was really afraid of how that was going to affect me when I'm 14 hours or 16 hours into a fast and see how it goes. I was afraid I was going to be so lightheaded that it's going to be just madness. Well, it hasn't been. And I feel like a little bit of it's mind over matter. Because once I get that hunger pains, I'm like, oh, I just want to eat something. I want to devour that or gouge on that or whatever, those kind of things. And the intermittent fasting hasn't done that to me so far. So that's good. 4 days into it, and we've been pretty successful. So the reason I share all this with you is this. This is almost like a rebrand for myself. We already rebranded the podcast to the That's Life podcast. I need consistency and I need accountability. One of the ways that I needed that accountability was through the intermittent fasting, through some of the healthier eating, and going for walks and exercising every day. That I can do any kind of exercise, whether it's a chair exercise, whether it's a walking exercise, whether it's lifting weights. It doesn't matter. Any form of exercise you can do. The second level of accountability is this podcast. We all know that this podcast is a form of therapy for me, and it's a form of therapy for other individuals as well that like to listen to it and that like to be able to interact and interject and have conversations and all those things. And I feel like the accountability piece of it, that I can talk about my journey and discuss things that are going on, the goods, the bads, the uglies, everything across the board, helps other individuals along with myself. So if I put it out into the universe, I know that this is where we're at. So this is the first step of that. My first step is to sit down with you and talk about what I discovered, the conversations I had with my doctor, and oh, by the way, I will always promote and be able to try to be able to get people to move forward in the space of telling your loved one, whether it's your husband, your grandfather, your son, your uncle, whoever the guy is in your life, they need to go to get their physical. go get checked out, number one. Number two, if you know that they struggle with some mental health issues, there are options for them to be able to get some help, mental health help, whether it's through therapy or anything like that. It is not a sign of weakness at all for you to be able to take care of yourself for others and yourself, right? First yourself and then others. But at the end of the day, you need to do what's necessary for you to be successful. And so I start this all off by just letting you know I went to the doctors. Here I was. I heard the news. I got what I needed to be able to be just kind of put right in front of my face. At least we're being proactive enough that it's not extremely way, way, way high on the blood pressure or the weight and stuff like that, even though the weight is high for me, in total. But if we're catching it in the beginning phases of this, and we're going to put some steps and procedures in place for us to be able to make sure that I'm around for a long period of time. So go see the doctor, do what you have to do, come up with a plan, and then through moderation and not the all-in mentality, work your plan. Do what you have to do, one step at a time, one moment at a time, one meal at a time. Do what you have to do to make yourself better, to make yourself healthier, so that way you're around for a long period of time for those that you love and for yourself in general, okay? All right, guys, listen, much love to you all. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate those that have emailed me or texted me asking if I was going to have a new episode coming out. So here it is, and I really hope that you enjoyed it and take some inspiration from it, and I know I will, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the That's Life podcast. Please leave us a 5-star rating and any feedback on whatever platform you're using.